between 1 and 10, he's going to assign a value to just how likely it is that these names will end up at Juventus. Gab, let's start with Jose Mourinho.
I'm going to go 1. I think this is highly unlikely. I believe in Santa Claus. I believe in integrity. I believe in what people say. I remember Jose Mourinho, what he said about Juventus, what Juventus have said about him. I remember him holding 3 fingers up to the Juve fans who were abusing him just a few months ago. I believe in it. He's being real when he says how much he loves Inter. This whole thing seems to have started up with the fact that people have reported that Cristiano Ronaldo has put his name forward. Remember, relations between Ronaldo and Mourinho were not good, even though they share the same agent. Supposedly they thought, I'm not buying anything. I don't think he's coming.
Mauricio Pochettino's cousin has come out and said everyone in the family wants to see him manage Juve. What is the Gab-O-Meter telling us?
Well, I don't know who am I to argue with his cousin, but I'm going to go with a 2 here. The logic here is obviously Pochettino is a manager that Juventus would love. Obviously, we know how hard it is to get him out of Tottenham, but the idea is if he wins the Champions League, he can say, hey, look, Mr. Levy, my work here is done. I've completed a cycle. I've been here 5 years. I've delivered the biggest prize in club football. I want to move on to a new challenge. I still think it's a real long shot. I think he can hold out for a different sort of job if he wants it, so I'm going 2.
The Gab-O-Meter not very excited about our first 2 names. What about this name, Maurizio Sarri?
Mr. Excitement only gets a 3 here in Maurizio Sarri. This is predicated upon the fact that Chelsea are going to sack Sarri. My information is that they won't. In the end, he finished 3rd. He's in the Europa League final. He reached the League Cup final. There's a possible transfer ban hanging over the club. Juventus would have to go and pay compensation to make this happen. Sarri would have to resign. It just seems like, again, a lot of things have to come together. The other thing is also, it would be a total reversal of style to go into Sarri's sort of wide open football from what we've seen in the last few years. Not sure also that would work with all the veteran players they have.
What about Antonio Conte, heavily linked to Inter? Any chance he ends up in Turin?
I'm going to go at 3 on this one. It seems far-fetched if you remember the circumstances of how he left the club walking out in the middle of summer because he was unhappy with signings. Well, if you look at Juve's squad, I mean, he's got to be happy, right? These are great players. I think he's raring to get back. He's been on a PR offensive. Obviously, he's been linked to Inter. Some people say he's linking himself to Inter. The great thing about Conte, why it would make sense, is Juve have a certain window of opportunity that's closing, given the older players that are there. And what Conte has done really consistently is he gives teams a short-term jolt.
What about Simone Inzaghi? How attractive would he be to Juventus?
We really don't know which way Juve are heading right now, but certainly Simone Inzaghi, for me, I give him a 6 because he is somebody, at least you have something to hang on to. He has a very close relationship with Fabio Paratici, who is Juve's sporting director. He's certainly available. He would be sort of an Allegri light, right? Because he's a player's coach. He's a little more cautious. He presents himself reasonably well, not as charismatic as Allegri, but he's a whole heck of a lot cheaper and hungrier than Allegri, more of a company man, certainly at this stage of his career. So I think in some ways they would see Inzaghi as kind of the safe, low-risk bet, or the continuity bet anyway.
For more, sign up now for ESPN+.